Today we'll be going over some of the recent findings from our most recent devices benchmark, as well as developments in AI PC and TBR's expectations around the next major PC refresh cycle. Again, my name is Ben Carbonell, and I'm a senior analyst focusing on infrastructure devices and semiconductors, and I'm joined today with Alec Maxfield, who is a research analyst at the company who primarily focuses on the client devices space. So with that, I'll turn it over to Alec if he is on right now. I know that he was having some trouble connecting. All right, so it seems like he might not be on. I'll go through my slides first, which speak to the AI PC, and then we'll go back and touch on takeaways from the most recent devices benchmark. So again, today I'll be talking about AI PCs and TBR's expectations around the next major PC refresh cycle. But first, I'd like to take a quick step back and highlight some of what TBR has seen in the PC market over the last few years, as it kind of gives some context into some of the trends that we'll be talking about. So since the advent of the solid-state drive, the useful life of PCs has been increasing, although we continue to see commercial organizations in most industries refreshing their devices on a 3-year basis. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, a generational PC refresh cycle began, with existing PCs being updated and the number of PCs per household increasing materially due to work and learn-from-home initiatives, which drove growth in the total addressable PC market. However, once this heightened demand was met, channel inventories grew and remained elevated for several quarters, driving a downturn in the market with respect to both revenue and profitability. Now, fast forward to 2023 and the emergence of the AI PC. Despite certain ARM-based PC chips already featuring dedicated AI processors, such as Microsoft's SQ series and Apple's M series, the first x86 PC chip to feature a dedicated onboard AI accelerator was brought to market by AMD with its Ryzen 7040 series in 2023. Months later, AMD announced its 8040 series, promising performance gains over the prior iteration Ryzen series, and at roughly the same time, Intel announced its first AI PC chip, codenamed Meteor Lake. The NPU on AMD's Ryzen 8040 AI PC chip provided a now dismal 16 TOPS performance, while Intel's NPU provided 11 TOPS performance. I say dismal here mainly because in 2024, Qualcomm introduced its Snapdragon X series of mobile processors featuring the company's Hexagon NPU, which boasts a whopping 45 TOPS performance there. This development led to the creation of a new AI PC category, Copilot PC, which Microsoft defines as a new class of Windows 11 device featuring NPUs capable of 40 or more TOPS performance. Essentially, this is really just a classification to run Copilot Plus features how Microsoft would like them to be run. However, it's worth noting that unlike offerings from AMD and Intel, Qualcomm's flagship AI PC chips are based on ARM architecture rather than x86, which is pretty important and something that I'll circle back to in a moment. Windows PC OEMs were quick to integrate the three companies' AI PC silicon into their portfolios, bullish on the opportunity presented by the new category of devices. However, because the big three Windows OEMs, Dell, HP Inc., and Lenovo, all integrated these chips at roughly the same pace, AI PC differentiation has and continues to be a major obstacle and area of investment focus. While all new AI PCs are Copilot capable, HP and Lenovo have created their own proprietary AI assistants, while only Lenovo has developed proprietary AI silicon to further enhance the performance of certain of its offerings. Additionally, all three PC OEMs have their own AI-driven performance optimization tools, some of which are integrated with the company's respective AI assistants. But this really leads us to the key question, which is, will the advent of the AI PC drive the next major PC refresh cycle? Hardware and software, as you know, are very dependent on one another, and as such, the development of new applications typically lags the development of cutting-edge hardware. As such, due to the nascency of the AI PC, we've yet to see the material development of killer apps that require the NPU. Rather than enabling net new workloads, thus far the NPU is largely driving performance enhancements related to extended battery life and enhanced audio suppression, video blurring, video rendering, and photo editing capabilities. Additionally, it's worth noting that while a number of PC OEMs offer data science platforms to enable AI development, these platforms are aimed at GPU-enabled workstations rather than mobile AI PCs, and leverage the cloud to some degree rather than pure on-device AI. For these reasons, TBR predicts that the advent of the AI PC will support the next major PC refresh cycle, but will not be the largest driver. Instead, TBR believes the next major PC refresh cycle has already begun, driven by the coalescence of other major trends, specifically the aging PC install base and the upcoming end of Windows 10 support, which is currently slated for October 2025. TBR believes the development of on-device AI applications leveraging the NPU will accelerate as both Intel and AMD have announced new AI PC chips set to hit the market later this year that feature NPUs capable of over 40 TOPS performance. Tying this back to a point I made earlier, this is important because in contrast to Qualcomm's Snapdragon X series, these upcoming chips will be based on x86 architecture, which has historically been more popular among Windows PC buyers due largely to a wider variety of x86 native applications, which is primarily the result of Microsoft's robust x86 developer ecosystem. Additionally, TBR is seeing PC silicon vendors and OEMs invest in the expansion of their ISV partner ecosystems, as well as tools to support developers in hopes of creating killer apps for the AI PC. Looking ahead, TBR expects PC OEMs to enhance their security and support offerings and capabilities, such as predictive maintenance and performance monitoring, leveraging the processing power of the next generation NPUs, which in combination with richer hardware configuration supports PC OEMs' ambitions to expand margins in an otherwise commoditized market. So before I throw it back to Alec to go over what he's seeing with the key findings in the devices benchmark, I just wanted to touch on some of those chips that I was talking about with kind of the higher performance that are going to be x86. And that's just at the bottom of this table. Intel's Lunar Lake and AMD Ryzen AI 300, both expected in this quarter. Both will be based on x86 architecture, and both will meet the threshold for what Microsoft considers an AI PC. Additionally, I'd like to make another point, speaking to what I was talking about at data science platforms kind of being aimed at GPU-enabled workstations. Kind of interesting, just kind of on the whole TOPS topic here with NPU performance. Although it's not an NPU, NVIDIA recently came out with its GeForce RTX 4090 GPU, and that offers a whopping 1,321 TOPS. So while we see these NPUs offering, good performance for what they are, really, when we're getting into model training and some of these more intense AI workloads, a lot of that is going to be done on GPU-enabled workstations. And again, some of that is going to leverage kind of a hybrid approach, not only utilizing the on-device silicon, but also cloud. So Alec, if you're back, I'll skip back to your slides, and then you can take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Let me just cycle back through here. I apologize for that little disruption. So I'll just give a quick summary of what we cover in the devices benchmark and then a rundown of our results from 1Q24. So in the benchmark, we look at 9 different devices vendors across 5 different product segments with an analysis of quarterly performance and trends for each segment overall, as well as a breakdown by vendor of revenue, profitability, and business strategies, both within each segment and then for their overall devices businesses. So during 1Q24, we saw total devices revenue among benchmark vendors fall about 4.3% year to year. In terms of sort of the market dynamics we saw going on during the quarter, in general, companies were reporting gradual demand recovery in the smartphone market, as well as the PC market, particularly on the commercial side. This was offset by an overall slower recovery in consumer devices spend, as well as contracting revenue on the part of Apple, who's just so impactful on the entire benchmark because of their huge size relative to the rest of the vendors. And I'll get into a little bit more about why they had such a tough quarter on the next slide. So in terms of the PC segment, we saw the segment return to single-digit year-to-year growth during the quarter, and that was largely due to gradually recovering demand, with the commercial market significantly outperforming the consumer market, which we saw still being impacted by some lingering effects of market saturation. As far as PC services, we also saw single-digit growth there, tied to that increase in commercial PC unit shipments. And here it's that we have attach rates tend to be significantly higher for services on commercial devices. So recovery on that end of the market is especially important to this segment and will continue to be over the next couple of quarters. As far as smartphone goes, this is where we saw Apple's bad quarter really having an impact. So while the rest of the market grew about 3% due to gradually recovering demand, Apple's iPhone segment fell in the low double digits because of a strong year-ago compare. Basically, they saw supply constraints in 4Q22 because of COVID-19 restrictions at one of their main assembly facilities in China. So that pushed a bunch of those orders out to 1Q23, creating that strong compare. For tablets, we saw a low double-digit year-to-year revenue change. So here we see demand remains relatively weak after that large surge in purchases we saw during the pandemic. And again, that was exacerbated by a strong year-ago compare on Apple's part, though this one was due to the timing of product releases rather than supply chain issues. Similar story we have for smart devices. We saw revenue fall about 6.4%. Due to an ongoing reduction in consumer devices spend, especially on non-essential items. In terms of what's going on in that segment, wearable offerings continue to be the most impactful on segment revenue here. Again, pretty significant impact from Apple due to their Apple Watch offering, where they cited a challenging compare in what they call their wearables, home, and accessory segment because of the timing of product releases, and that was especially true for the Apple Watch. And I believe that's everything for my slides, Ben.
Oh, I am muted. Okay. So now we can open up to a question and answer. If you have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A box, and we'd be happy to get to those. I think we have a couple questions so far. So let me just read off a couple that we do have right now. How have AI PCs influenced PC segment performance thus far? So really, again, the first of what we consider an AI PC. I guess first off, I'd go over kind of the definition of AI PC is evolving. So the first definition, kind of the first industry-wide definition, was a PC that features a dedicated AI accelerator. So unlike a GPU, an NPU is really designed to suit those really repetitive, kind of less intense AI and ML functions. So with that, I believe I mentioned that the first AI PC chip came out in 2023. We've yet to see too much impact from AI PCs there. However, the definition's evolving. We hear a few PC OEMs, what they're calling next generation AI PCs or Copilot Plus PCs. Those are going to be the PCs that are leveraging, either the Qualcomm Snapdragon X series processor or some of that Intel or AMD processors that are about to launch. Again, those really haven't had very much of a revenue impact thus far, just because those Qualcomm units just really started shipping recently, and then we haven't seen any units based on those Intel Lunar Lake or AMD Ryzen 300 series yet. So I think the impact of AI PCs is kind of yet to be seen, and that's something that we'll closely track in our research going forward. Another question we have is, how will rising AI PC sales impact PC OEMs' margins? So that's a great question. Obviously, the PC market is somewhat commoditized, and we really hear OEMs trying to do their best, take actions to raise margins, and whether that's by attaching more services and peripherals or third-party software, that's one avenue to increasing those margins. However, the other avenue is really trying to increase premium mix. So this is something that we hear across the industry. The big three OEMs specifically are more interested in selling those higher dollar units, not only because they derive more revenue just from the unit sale, but also because there's typically more services and peripherals, software attached on those higher priced units. So I see AI PCs impacting PC OEMs' margins in a positive way, more in the near, especially in the long term, as there's more software to be attached, the configurations are richer, and if you're going to be buying one of these more expensive premium laptops, you're definitely going to be opting for a warranty. So I see AI PCs as helping kind of premiumization trends in the market that we're already seeing even before the introduction of AI PC. Is there anything that you would add to that, Alec?
No, I would say that's pretty much what I've been hearing from these earnings call from the OEMs.
Great. Yeah, so let me just flip back to this chart that I presented a little bit earlier. This is our benchmark PC revenue. Includes several vendors, including the big three PC OEMs. I believe Apple's also in these bars here, but we've only heard 2Q24 earnings out of the big three Windows OEMs so far from Lenovo. And I know that they introduced what they were calling their 5-pillar AI PCs to the China market during the quarter. And really, again, those 5-pillar AI PCs, that's similar to what other OEMs are calling next generation or Copilot Plus PCs. And they had during the earnings call, they said that they had really good reception in China, in the Chinese market. They noted that right now, those kind of 5-pillar or next generation AI PCs represent about a low single-digit percentage of their total mix in China. However, they're bullish on the opportunity presented by them, thinking that by the end of the year, around 10% of units sold in China will be those 5-pillar AI PCs. Of course, they're introducing those 5-pillar AI PCs to the broader market, I believe, this quarter in 3Q. And with that, there'll be a little bit of a lag in percentage mix kind of in EMEA and Americas, but I expect to see kind of a similar trend in adoption in those geographies going forward.